But one banker told me, and I went home literally in tears. He said, this is a male-dominated business. It's Italian male. And I don't know if this is something for you because I don't know if your idea has legs. And I just looked at him in shock. He didn't even look at my business plan, nothing. And he's like, I really wouldn't be penetrating this market. You won't make it the first 2 years.
This is Jasmine Chida. Jasmine is the owner of SweetCup, a local gelato shop that makes world-class treats. In this episode, we talked about the joy and challenges of being an entrepreneur. She also shares why she founded SweetCup. But before we get started, make sure to subscribe to Max Studios, hit that bell icon so that you're the first to see on all of our newest shows, and check us out on Instagram at Max Studios UST to stay in the loop and get a behind-the-scenes sneak peeks at everything that we're working on. Now, let's jump into this episode of Bold with Jasmine.
Hi, I'm Isabel Garcia. I'm studying education at the University of St. Thomas in Houston, and I'm the host of Bold. Bold is a podcast that aims to inspire students to be your bold self through conversation with students and alumni. Hi guys, welcome back to Bold. My name is Isabel Garcia and I'm your host. Today we have Jasmine Chida, the owner of SweetCup. Welcome to Bold.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. Can you introduce yourself? Tell me a little bit.
So my name is Jasmine Chida. I am the owner of SweetCup Gelato right down the street on Montrose Boulevard. We opened in 2012 and we currently have 2 brick and mortars, which is Montrose and then Ella Boulevard. I'm sure you're familiar with that location.
Yeah, I work at Penguin, which is also on Ella Boulevard. So every day on my way to work, I pass by there.
Nice. So yeah, we're literally right there. And then our third location is our manufacturing facility, which we do wholesale out of, and we also ship to the stores. And we supply Whole Foods Market and Central Market statewide.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thank you.
So, SweetCup is a gelato shop. What is gelato exactly?
So yeah, gelato is just like, everyone thinks gelato means like gelatin or something weird like that. But no, it just means frozen Italian. It's just the Italian way of making ice cream. And the difference between gelato and ice cream, like American ice cream, is the butterfat percentage, which is very minimal and small, but it's approximately 10% less butterfat. And then air, when the machine turns it turns it slowly. And you guys will be seeing at the kitchen, it turns it slowly. So then the rate of air that's pushed into the product is very minimal. Compared to ice cream, the machine turns it fast and it pumps air into it and makes it fluffy. So gelato is basically less air and then it's more dense and then less butterfat. But it's made with whole milk as well. Okay. And so the reason why the American Dairy Association doesn't technically call it ice cream is because of the butterfat percentage. Really, that's only the difference. So
that's so interesting. I didn't know that. So that like gelato makes it like more creamier, and does it take a lot longer than ice cream gelato?
Just depends on the flavor. What you're making, we make a base and that ages like everything you've heard about in the culinary world about like wine aging, different foods aging. Gelato, you have to have like your base age that really makes a good foundation is the base, and then building on top of that and the different flavors that go into it and the product that's made. So
you're like an expert on gelato.
I'd like to think so, but I feel like every day I'm learning something new or a curveball's thrown at me. So I'd like to think I am, but I'm trying to get better at it.
How did you like know so much about like gelato, and how did you learn?
I made a lot of mistakes. I learned a lot from my mistakes. And then I actively try my best to immerse myself in the topic and just understand it as much as I can. I went to Italy for my honeymoon, and that's when I first learned about gelato. I really didn't know what it was. And I always loved ice cream. I'm a big ice cream girl. In San Antonio, all I would eat is ice cream. So when I went to Italy, it opened up my eyes, not just to gelato, but the culture, the food, the people, how they take a lot of pride in fresh ingredients and putting something together and enjoying a meal around what they had for the day. Like whatever the ingredients were available to them, they made it work. And it was just a beautiful thing. So I had gelato literally every day. My diet was pasta, wine, gelato, and pizza. And it was great. It was fantastic. And so I was really influenced by that trip. And so when I came back, I moved to Houston. And then I thought to myself, like, well, let me go visit a gelato shop. So I Googled and searched, and only a couple came up. of gelato shops, and they were franchises. And then there was one that was wholesale with limited flavor options and not really authentic or fun or creative. And I thought, wow, we're the 4th populous city in the United States, and there's not really one gelato shop really around that you can really quite visit. So I was just at that time pondering on the thought, and I was just trying to find a solution to a problem. To me, that was a big problem because I really wanted gelato and I couldn't get it the way I wanted it. So it was all inspired by my trip to Italy, my honeymoon trip actually. So
Whoa. And that's so cool and so did you ever think that you were going to open a gelato shop?
No, not at all. Everyone asked me that. It's not like I was 5 and just dreaming of it. One day I'm going to have my own gelateria in the middle of Houston. No, it was not even. I fell in love with it, and you could say I became a little obsessed with it, but I felt like it was my life's calling for a lot of reasons, and I enjoy it. It doesn't feel like work, and I love it. So
that's awesome.
But I never would have thought I would have started my own business. No, I didn't even know what gelato was like 10, 11 years ago. I didn't know until I went to Italy. So that's kind of crazy, right? Yeah. So, and here I am.
I love that story so much. It's just so interesting. And then you went back to Italy. And then you became an expert on gelato.
Master gelatiere, I guess they say. But I don't like to say it like that. I just like to make gelato. That's it. So I took classes. So when I came back from my honeymoon trip, not to bore anybody, but I started making gelato at home. And then I got a little Cuisinart ice cream maker. And obviously I had a lot of failed experiments. I made pudding. I made something that looked similar to gelato, but wasn't quite sure what it was. I made slush. So I got better at my craft, but it still wasn't enough. So I took classes on dairy science and went to North Carolina. And I try to learn everything about the topic of gelato, dairy science, what makes milk milk and what's in milk, and then all the basics. And so after that, I decided, you know what? I started Googling and searching. I was like, I found a school in Italy. It's called Gelato University. And I'm like, no way. I really have to look this up. And it was Gelato University. It was in Bologna, Italy. And I was like, that is really cool. I think I want to do that. And so they have different classes for, like a month, 3 months, 6 months. And unfortunately, I'd love to stay for the 6 months, but I only did the month plan because, this is the same amount of time the class studies and the curriculum. But if you want to stay longer, you do internships and you stay there. But I didn't have the time to stay there, and I would have loved to. But I decided to go to Italy and take my advanced training there and learn the science and art of gelato and frozen dessert making.
And then when you came back from that trip, that's when you opened SweetCup?
Yes. Very short answer, yes. That's when I opened SweetCup. Very short answer, yes.
And what have been some of the challenges that you faced opening SweetCup?
Yes. So I thought the challenges of opening SweetCup was going to Italy and studying and learning, about gelato. And I really still didn't think at the time I wanted to open my own business. But the more I got into it, I started practicing at home and selling it in my home kitchen. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I really want to do this for a living or try to. But the biggest hurdle was not just taking classes and going to a foreign country and learning about it and learning the language a little bit to understand the curriculum. Even though it was in English, you had to do grams to, liters, not pounds.
Yeah.
So that wasn't the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge was trying to start my own business. That was very, very hard. It was one of the hardest things I had to do, and I had to push myself to do it. So when I came back, I loved the Montrose area. I loved how it was. I loved the museum district. I love how it's artsy. And there's a lot of local shops at the time. And I just love the feel of it. So I found on Montrose Boulevard a abandoned marble slab creamery. That was one of the second marble slabs to open in the city. But it was abandoned, and I couldn't believe it. And I was like, this was meant to be. Because I was actually stopping there to get some ice cream because I was driving around all day and it was hot. So I was like, I'm just going to get some ice cream. And, then I looked inside, and way deep inside was a for lease sign. It wasn't even on the window. I promise. I have pictures of it. It was inside the building. I'm like, what's so weird? Because the sign of marble slab was still on there. So I really thought it was open, but just like tinted windows. Mm-hmm. So I went and I looked and I contacted the landlord, the property manager / leasing agent, broker, and they didn't return my calls. So, and it was quite a while. It was about a few months and I wasn't getting any phone calls back to even get that location. So that was one of the challenges. I spoke to Claire Smith, the owner of Canopy. She owns also Alice Blue in the Heights. Wonderful person, wonderful chef. I told her my story a little bit. And I said, look, you may think I'm crazy, but I really believe in this. I really have a feeling about this. And I think I can make this work. She didn't look at me like I was crazy, but she was like, okay, well, I'll see if I can talk to the landlord. I sat and I ate there and I talked to her. And I gave her my number and I thought I wasn't going to hear from anybody again. She's like, I'll talk to him. So after a few months of just trying to do it on my own, nobody getting back to me, I finally got a response from their leasing office saying, you have one meeting and it's only 5 minutes. Yes.
No.
Yeah. And you have to bring whatever you can with you to see if we're interested in just leasing out to you. I brought gelato, didn't have it. And I brought I had a business plan. I sat at Diedrich's Coffee, which is now Snap Kitchen, right there. It used to be a Diedrich's Coffee, and I would watch the amount of traffic that would come by to the center. I was like crazy person getting coffee every hour and just like sitting there doing tally marks. I really was trying to do research if this is the right spot. I had all that ready. I made a business. I went to graduate school, so I made a business plan. I knew what it had to do business-wise, but it's funny, everything they teach you that works on paper doesn't work in real life. It doesn't work that way. It's really about who you know sometimes. And so I had my business plan, had my credit scores, had everything ready. And they basically said, okay, if you want to do this, you're going to have to sign a lease. But the first 2 years, we have a lien on your house. So if you default on rent one time, like late, the first 2 years on the lease, the 5-year lease, you get a lien on your house. We have the right to take your house. Well, it's a lien on your house. And I really didn't think that was like, I was like, okay, I don't know if that's something I really want to do. When's if I, don't do this right and I'll become homeless with a bunch of gelato. So I was like, okay, I'll sign it away. I'll sign. What do I got to lose? When I first started SweetCup, the mentality was, what have I got to lose? I just got married. I'm going to leave my job to do this. What have I got to lose? If it happens, it happens. So I'm going to try it. So I did. I brought my husband that day with me, of course, and we signed off on the lease. And I felt like I was signing my life away, but I felt at the same time this was a big step for me. And so I got the space after much trying on my own after 6 months. But Claire was the one that helped me, honestly. She talked to the landlord for me, or the leasing agent, to at least talk to me about it. So they gave me a shot. And then that wasn't the hurdle too. The next hurdle was, if that wasn't enough, the next one was getting funding from the banks. I got rejected by all 10 banks I went to. One banker, and by the SBA too, but one banker told me, and I went home literally in tears. He said, this is a male-dominated business. It's Italian male, and I don't know if this is something for you, because I don't know if your idea has legs. And I just looked at him in shock. He didn't even look at my business plan, nothing. And he's like, I really wouldn't be penetrating this market. You won't make it the first 2 years. I went home and I cried, obviously, because I thought, wow, that's pretty rough to get told that without even trying my product or getting to know me as a person. But in the business world, they don't know you. They don't really care about you as a person, in a sense like, okay, well, Jasmine's a nice person and she really means well by trying to start a gelato shop. They're like, where are the numbers? Where are your investors? What is your capital, starting capital? What do you have in the bank? What can you do? Have you done this before? I didn't have any of that. I'm starting from scratch. I didn't have any contacts with any chefs. I'm from San Antonio, Texas. So this city was a new start for me. Houston's a big city. It's competitive. It's a strong city. And I felt like I was thrown into the sharks, with the sharks to swim, but I didn't have any of that. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to cry and sit at home. I'm going to go fight. And if I have to do everything I can to open this, I'm going to do it. That's how much I believed in myself, and I believed in my product, and I believed in what I was trying to do. So then I went home, I talked to my husband, we had savings. And then the next step was to sell my car. I had a Mercedes at the time. So I thought, hey, if I sell it, it's a fairly new car. I can get some money out of it. So we did that because I needed the capital for the equipment. Me and my husband, and all of y'all that have been to Montrose, you know how it looks kind of divey. I love it because that place means a lot. We had half of the space remodeled and couldn't basically afford the other half because the contractors walked out on us. I'm not going to say their name on camera.
Don't call
but I
them out.
remember you. If you're watching this, you left us high and dry on a Sunday night. But we remodeled half the space ourselves when we woke up Monday and realized the contractor's not coming in. So those pendant lights you see, they're from IKEA. I went and selected those by myself, by hand, $12 each. And so my husband installed them. And yeah, it's not the prettiest shop on the block, but you know what I did? I made sure 3 things were right: product, service, and cleanliness. And I said, we're not the prettiest shop on the block, but you know what? Someone's going to have this product. They're going to like the service. They're going to like the cleanliness of the environment. They're going to walk away saying, dang, that was a really good business and it's local. I want to come back and bring my friends. And that's what happened. We started really like grassroots, like organically. I barely started an Instagram page like 2 years after the business started. I wasn't active on Facebook because it was just me working the floor the first couple years. So the banks pegged me at a 90% failure rate my first 2 years. That's why they didn't want to give me a loan. They said if I was medical or oil or gas, they would give me a loan. But since I'm specialty dessert, no loan. So I was pegged at a 90% failure rate. Husband dropped me off at work, 6 a.m. I would start the machines. First thing, clean the machines, start the machines, make the product. We opened around 11, I think that time, or noon. Service the floor, take care of the floor. My husband would come in the evening, help me out a little bit so I can go take a break, and then do it all over again, leave or close to midnight or 11 o'clock, depending on the day, and do it all over again.
That is such a good story.
Thank you.
It's incredible.
Thank you. That means a lot. So it wasn't easy.
No,
really
obviously. But now it's totally paid off. Like those first 2 years, so rough. And now it totally paid off, right?
It has. I've met a lot of great people. I have great staff. It's made me a stronger person. There's a lot of intangible things I can take away from this that I can't put a value or a price tag on. So yeah, it's definitely made me a stronger person for sure. Yeah, so.
And so now you've been so successful.
Trying to be.
Yeah, I mean, you're
trying.
Whole Foods, Central Market. That's crazy. And you've won awards. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Oh, okay. So this is kind of special because I really didn't think I was going to get it. So in 2015, it's the Golden Spoon. It's kind of got a little dusty the past few years. But so in 2015, I was one of the 20 gelato shops in North America to get selected to compete in the Gelato World Tour. And so Texan Kulfi was a flavor I came up with. My husband's background, he's Indian, so I did something like an East meets West flavor. So we did a Texan Kulfi, which is cardamom, spice, cream, bourbon whiskey, and Texas pecans candied in brown sugar. And so I thought it'd be a unique flavor to submit, and the judges selected me to compete with that flavor. And then in that competition, there was something called a Tonda challenge, which is the perfect scoop. And you got to scoop it a certain way, blindfolded, and then your flavor has to be judged and all that. So I got the Tonda challenge and was the only woman in the division to receive that award. So it was pretty special because they're like, "You're the only woman." I was like, "Oh, really? That's cool." So it was really special to get that award. And out of the 20, we made 5th place, the gelato shops that competed. But I was really happy because that was 2015. I started the business in 2012. And it really meant a lot to me that they picked me. And I was able to meet so many people from my background, like the gelato industry, and get to meet some chefs. And it was a cool experience. I really liked it. So I was really proud of that because the fact I'm a woman-owned business and doing that was pretty cool. So
congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
so cool.
It was all those years of scooping on the floor by myself. I could make gelato in my sleep, honestly, and I could scoop in my sleep. It's just like, here you go. So it's the years of practice. So
cool. So what is your relationship with St. Thomas?
So yeah, St. Thomas has been awesome. And I got familiar with them over the years. Of course, faculty and students would come by and for gelato. And that was the first stepping stones of my relationship with St. Thomas. But a special shout out to Dr. Bina George. She would frequent Canopy and then come to SweetCup or vice versa. She's a big supporter of local businesses and women-owned too. Her and I would have a lot of conversations over gelato while she'd get gelato. And she learned about my background, how I started. And so she got me to teach a class, one of her graduate school classes back, I believe it was 2018. And I did that. And then we worked on a St. Thomas student consulting project where the students from that grad school would come over to SweetCup and then advise SweetCup on what we could do better in our business or consult with us since they were graduate students. And that was part of the curriculum. So we worked with them on that. We've also catered a lot of the graduate students from the business school, their graduations. We've done a gelato catering for them via Dr. George. So, and then even recently this St. Thomas Student University, it was a students program that hired me on for a catering job just a few months ago on at the food hall right there. So, and also we've hired a lot of St. Thomas students to work part-time in the summer. So we've had a great relationship with St. Thomas. They've been extremely helpful. And my background is, I went to a Jesuit school for undergrad and graduate school. I went to St. Mary's University in San Antonio. And then for graduate school, I went to University Incarnate Word. So working with St. Thomas and going to St. Mary's University in Incarnate Word, having a Jesuit Catholic background at those universities is the fact that those universities are really, really supportive community and local community and each other. And so I feel that connection with St. Thomas because when I interact with the students or the faculty, I feel like I'm back home in San Antonio at St. Mary's University. It was the same camaraderie that they support local, and then the support and the values that they offer are similar to what I grew up on at St. Mary's University. So the same Jesuit background carries on with St. Thomas. So
how is that like transition to like your business and SweetCup?
Yeah, it's transitioned to where, you have to give back and you have to support those that support you, of course, and always try to strive to, support people in times of not just need, but in general. And, if you got to always give back and support. And that's what I've learned from Jesuit schools. It's the support system is really important and valuable. And the values of that is like intangible. So supporting people, not just in times of needs, but in general, and helping wherever you can as a business owner or as a student, or as a person, just without the business, just trying to help people for the common good. So, yeah.
I like that a lot. So I see like ice cream shops opening everywhere. Like I feel like every time there's a new trendy place, like you said. What do you think about that? Like, what is your opinion on like the competition?
Yeah. So I feel like competition's great. I'm not going to say it's bad. I think it's great because think about it. It's good for you as a consumer because when competition opens up, everybody starts getting their game up, all the businesses that are in the same field. And that's good for you as a consumer because everyone's on their toes and they want your business and they're going to compete for it. So it's actually good. It's a positive thing for the consumer. They get a better product, better service in return because everybody around them is trying to win their attention, right? That's a positive. I see it as a positive thing. The one thing I can say taking away from that is I personally try my best to, of course, I look at trends in the industry. Everybody does, that you're in the industry. You read about trends and different things. But I like to keep my eye on the ball. The moment you take your eye off the ball and you start competing or looking at what the next person next to you is doing, that's when you start losing the game. That's my feeling towards competition. It's good to see it all from a far perspective, but I can only compete with myself and I can be a better version of myself or my business better than yesterday. I know my capabilities and what I can do and what my passion is. So I have to go back and remind myself why I started this business and what I love about it. And that's what I can offer and compete with myself. So the moment you take your eye off the ball, you're already losing. That's my view. So
that's really good advice for someone like someone who wants to be an entrepreneur. What other advice do you have for someone who's looking to open up their own business or something like that?
Okay. If you're looking up to own your own business, that's great. Congratulations. But be ready for hardship. Be ready for ridicule. Be ready for rejection. Put your ego to the side. Do not have an ego. leave it, check it at the door, because there's a lot of people that ask me the same question. What advice can you give me? And when I learn that they get feedback on their product and they don't like to hear that feedback or something, they get all angry about it. You should never get angry about it. You should check your ego and be open to criticism, be open to new ideas, new thoughts. That's how you'll improve. If you keep yourself closed up and have a one-way mindset, you'll never win. You'll never go past the first step. And another thing I can say is, one quote I always go by that I've quoted before at Star Chefs was, don't be afraid of rejection, failure, and ridicule, because at the end of the day, you're going to go back and look at it and laugh at it, because all those things are going to make you a stronger person. They did for me. When people laughed at me or told me, oh, that's silly, or I got rejected, or, laughed at, I took it in, but I also turned it around, made it something positive, and it made me a stronger person. So, and I also took criticism. If someone didn't like a certain flavor and I kept thinking what was good, what was bad about it, I went back to the drawing board and tried to make it better. So, try to always remind yourself why you did it, and don't be in it for the money. Money will come later on and you'll lose a lot and you'll gain a lot and then you'll lose it again. So it should be you should be something passionate about. If you're not passionate, don't do it, because it's a lot of work to even set it up. And people see the success or where you're at, but they don't see all the stuff that's underneath the surface. It's like a volcano. They see it spewing out like all this cool colors and magma, but they don't see what took years to build that. Or like diamonds, it took years to build a diamond. It's so beautiful and shiny. Well, in the rough, it's not, but it took a lot of years of pressure and stress on that rock to make it what it is. So that's really what business is. So
that's incredible advice. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. I absolutely love talking to you. It's so interesting because I've been to SweetCup and I was like, dude, this is really good gelato, but it's so cool to hear like the background and like everything it took, and just like you're so passionate about it, and it totally shows like in your business and like talking to you.
Thank you. Well, that's really sweet. That's really compliment. So I really appreciate hearing that, because I feel like I'm doing something right?
No, you totally are. Guys, check out SweetCup. So good. Literally best gelato I've had. Thank y'all so much for watching. Stay bold, my friends. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bold is a podcast produced by Max Studios at University of St. Thomas in Houston. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook at Max Studios UST.